Hey there, my name's Fran and this is myboxingcoach.com. Joining a boxing gym or joining a boxing club like this can be quite intimidating, I guess. Whether you're joining for yourself or you're thinking of maybe taking your son or daughter to a boxing gym, I've come up with sort of 3 key rules to survive and thrive in a place like this. And it was really interesting because when I was coming up with these, it struck me that these are good models to have if you are training at home, if you never intend to join a place like this, if you never intend to go to a boxing club or a similar establishment. This is actually relevant to build a great mindset and a great attitude for your training at home as well. And I'll call that out with each of these 3 rules. I will explain why that's relevant for training at home as well. So rule number 1, equipment. This is one of my little things that I kind of I sort of believe passionately about when people first start off. Look, you do not need piles of cash, piles of expensive equipment when you start boxing. The whole point of boxing, the reason why it's been so accessible to the poorest in society for a couple of 100 years is because there are very few barriers to participation in respect of you shouldn't go out and spend a load of cash on equipment for either yourself or your son or daughter. You know, expensive gloves, expensive head guard, boots, all of the stuff that comes with it. You don't need it. In a place like this, we provide the gloves and any sparring equipment, head guard, sparring gloves. We provide gloves for on the bags. Now, maybe not all clubs are the same, but certainly most of those I know in amateur boxing clubs like this, that is the key rule. So what would be the minimum you need? Okay, some training clothes, you know, tracksuit or shorts, t-shirt and a pair of training shoes. Don't worry about spending, you know, a few £100 or dollars on top line boxing boots. Ideally some wraps for your hands, you know, they're cheap, you can get them, you can pick them up fairly reasonably, and some shower gear. And that's it. If you were coming in this boxing club, that's all, you know, that would be great for your first sort of session, your first few sessions. Once you are sort of into it, even skipping ropes, we provide them in here as well, as do most boxing clubs. As you start developing, once you've made the decision that you're going to start sticking to boxing, then you can think about developing the type of kit that you need. You can get your own gloves, you know. That tends to be the first big investment that boxers make, is a good set of gloves for on the bags. You do need to be a bit careful when it comes to sparring gloves. I've explained this on some other videos. It's up to the coach to decide, the coach in a boxing club to decide what gloves are worn during spars in boxing rings, you know. Quick story, one of our boxers came into the gym. He'd ordered a pair of Clayton Reyes 16 ounce, fantastic gloves, absolutely beautifully made, you know, world famous boxing club glove. The issue we had with them was the problem with sort of something like Clayton Reyes is lots of the weight of the glove is up in the armband, so there's very little around the knuckle area. They tends to be the difference between pro boxing gloves and amateur boxing gloves, is the distribution of weight in a glove and therefore padding and protection. Don't forget, a glove's designed to protect the person being hit, not the person throwing the punches. And we said we'll see how it goes, and he got in the ring and sparred, and these gloves just popped the eye and burst the nose of one of the sparring partners. So we had to stop, and them gloves were never used again. You know, that's a couple of £100 worth of glove, a couple of $100 worth of glove. Most expensive bag gloves in this club's history. but they weren't getting back in that ring. So be a bit careful when it comes to buying sparring gloves. What about if you're at home? You've got a little workout space at home. Even simpler, you don't even need wraps to start with. You know, some taped drill lines on the floor. I do lots of drills. All boxers who want to develop and learn do lots of drills that involves tape lines on the floor, and you can use them. A bit of carpet to do your exercises, your groundwork, your burpees, your press-ups, your sit-ups, crunches, all of that stuff. And that's it. That is proper going back to basics. That's Stone Age boxing. But it's fantastic. You can get out and do your running and then do all your drills and your shadow boxing and your groundwork. That will give you an amazing setup. It's about mindset. It's not about quitting. Don't hide behind posh equipment and expensive equipment. So if you're going to develop then onto hitting something, ideally you get a heavy bag, and that's when you need wraps, and you need gloves with those wraps as well. Your hands must be protected, especially as you begin to learn more about boxing. You punch harder, and therefore you need better quality hand protection. If you haven't got a punch bag yet, what you can do, as long as you've got gloves and wraps, you can put little crosses on a wall and just tap the wall with your hands. You're not punching, you're tapping. And what that does, it helps develop the feel for range, which is so important in boxing. You can do shadow boxing, but you really need to be able to place a point in space and be able to understand where you are in relation to that and use punches to measure that distance. So that's rule one. Don't go mad with equipment. Rule number two, the coach's attention, right? Let me explain the first 30 minutes of a boxer's life when they walk through these doors. We go through, I get them out maybe in a small group. If it's one-to-one, it'll be quicker than this. We go through the stance, we go through forwards and backwards, and we learn a basic jab, and we learn to duck. So you've got, bear in mind, if you combine a duck with a jab, you've got a jab to the body. So you've got 5 skills there. That for me is enough for them to be getting on with, and that's, first 30 seconds. I believe in giving people something to work on. And I expect them then to go away and work on that in amongst the gym. We've got 50 or more boxers coming through here tonight. I can't afford to be spending lots of time with any one individual. So a coach's time in a place like this is really precious. So don't become disheartened if you feel that the coach is ignoring you. Sometimes coaches don't even have the time to do what I've just said I make time to do, which is give those very few basics. In the olden days, when I was a youngster, it was different. We'd come in a place like this, and the trainers would just throw kids in the ring and let them beat the crap out of each other. And if they kept coming back after taking beatings off more experienced boxers, the coach would know that they were committed. These days we have to be more, and rightly so, we have to look after the boxers more. So that involves teaching them stuff to be getting on with. But if I show a boxer that first little bit, I expect them then to crack on and work. Once I see them working hard, and this is the same I think for any coach, once you see them working hard and putting the commitment in and putting the effort in and showing up with the right attitude, then more of my time will naturally go towards them. You can't help yourself, it's what you do. You see them working hard, and you go and spend 30 to 90 seconds. I walk around this gym, that's why I did a series of videos called the 90-second boxing tips, because often that's all I'll get working with an individual, because there's such a big team that we're working with. So yeah, be prepared to work hard, and the coach's attention will come. Don't get disheartened. At home, same principle, focus on the performance. Don't think about the outcomes. Don't think about what you're going to gain. Once you start training, focus on the performance of what you're doing. Put 100% into that. Show the right attitude. Show up. Work hard. Get your ass off the couch. Go to your little training space at home and do the work. So that's rule number 2. Rule number 3, watch and listen. Be inquisitive. Coaches like boxers who are inquisitive. How's this? Why is that work? You know, it's I guess teachers in school do as well. We like people to be inquisitive, to ask questions, to try and work out what's going on under the skin. So watch and listen. Goes without saying, watch and listen to your coach, but also other boxers in the gym. Success breeds success, and I see often, a big part of my belief is that boxers will learn as much off their fellow boxers as they will off someone like me. Ask advice of other boxers in the gym. It tends to be a very egalitarian environment. You know, boxers tend to like to be able to help other boxers. So the ask advice, they'll give it. If you're at home, look, have a plan, have a structure that you work around, but always seek to learn and develop and grow your mindset. Always look to find out more. You're in the wonderful age of YouTube. You can find all kinds of stuff on YouTube, watching boxers and watching training routines, and emulate some of those things and build them into your training program. Okay. Have a plan and always look to implement that. Okay, there's my 3 golden rules to survive and thrive in a boxing club, and to get the most out of your training at home. Subscribe and download my Beginner Boxer Toolkit ebook, packed full of advice to give you the kind of structure and help that you need when developing your boxing style and your boxing fitness. My name is Fran. This is myboxingcoach.com. Thank you very much.